Assalamualaikum dear aspirants. पॉलिटिकल साइंस पेपर 1 सेकंड टॉपिक है मुस्लिम पॉलिटिकल थॉट। मुस्लिम पॉलिटिकल थॉट जो है, पहले हमने वेस्टर्न पॉलिटिकल थॉट टॉपिक 1 जो है वो डिस्कस किया। वो आपको इस वीडियो के डिस्क्रिप्शन लिंक में मिल जाएगा उसका लिंक। तो कमेंट में भी बताइएगा अगर आपको कोई क्वेरी आए या आपको कोई फीडबैक देना चाहते हैं या किसी टॉपिक पे आपको लेक्चर चाहिए। तो ये PMS एस्पायरेंट्स के लिए है स्पेसिफिकली ये जो हम लेक्चर्स दे रहे हैं। तो शुरू करते हैं। मुस्लिम पॉलिटिकल थॉट इज़ अ रिच ट्रेडिशन ऑफ philosophical, theological and legal ideas developed over more than 14 years in the Islamic world. Muslim political thought has been shaped by various historical, cultural, and intellectual factors, including Islamic theology, Islamic law, political and social institutions, and interactions with other civilizations. One of the earliest and most influential figures in Muslim political thought was Al-Farabi, 1872 to 1950. He was a philosopher and political theorist who wrote extensively on the ideal state and the role of the philosopher king. Al-Farabi's ideas were heavily influenced by the Plato and Aristotle, and he believed that the ideal state was one in which the ruler was a philosopher who governed according to reason and justice. Another important figure in Muslim political thought was Ibn Khaldun, 1332 to 1406. He was a historian and political theorist who wrote extensively on the nature of power and the rise and fall of the civilization. तो इसको आपने अगर कहीं आपको समझ ना आए आप स्लाइड को रोक के भी देख सकते हैं। शायद मैं कुछ जो इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ें नहीं हैं स्किप करूँगा। इब्न खल्दून्स आइडियल वर अहेड ऑफ हिज टाइम एंड ही इज़ कंसिडर्ड बाय सम टू बी द फादर ऑफ modern social sciences. Islamic law or Sharia has also played a significant role in Muslim political thought. Sharia provides guidelines for individual behavior, social and political reasons, and the organization of the state. Sharia emphasizes the importance of justice, equality, and the rule of law, and it has influenced political and legal systems in many Muslim majority countries. In recent times, Muslim political thought has been influenced by a range of intellectual and political movements, including Islamism, modernism, and feminism. These movements have emphasized different aspects of Muslim political thought, from the importance of Islamic law and tradition to the need for political reform and social justice. In conclusion, Muslim political thought is a diverse and dynamic tradition that has evolved over many centuries. It continues to be studied and debated today, and it remains an important source of ideas and inspiration for Muslims around the world. First one is Al-Farabi. Al-Farabi, 1872 to 1950, was a philosopher and political theorist of the Islamic Golden Age. He was born in the Central Asia but spent much of his life in Baghdad, Iraq, where he studied and taught philosophy and mathematics, logic, and music. Al-Farabi's political thought was heavily influenced by the Greek philosopher, particularly that of Plato and Aristotle. He believed that the ideal society was one in which the ruler was a philosopher king who governed according to the reason and justice. Al-Farabi argued that the purpose of the state was to promote the happiness and well-being of its citizens, and he believed that the best way to do this was through the cultivation of virtue and the pursuit of wisdom. In his work, The Political Regime, Al-Farabi outlined three types of political regimes: the city-state, the tribal state, and the universal state. He argued that the best form of government was the universal state, which would be ruled by a philosopher king and would encompass all of humanity. Al-Farabi believed that such a state would be able to promote the common good and ensure justice for all people. Al-Farabi's contributions to political thought were not limited to his ideas on the ideal state. He also wrote extensively on the nature of power, the relationship between religion and politics, and the role of the education in the formation of virtuous citizens. Al-Farabi emphasized the importance of cultivating wisdom and knowledge, and he believed that a well-educated citizenry was essential for the stability and prosperity of any state or society. Overall, Al-Farabi's political thought was characterized by a deep concern for justice, virtue, and the common good. His ideas have had a profound impact on Islamic political thought and have influenced political theorists and philosophers around the world. Second is Al-Mawardi. Al-Mawardi 1974 to 1058 was a Muslim jurist, theologian and political theorist who lived in Baghdad during the Abbasid Caliphate. He is best known for his work The Ordinance of the Government, a seminal work on Islamic political theory and governance. In the ordinances of government, Al-Mawardi emphasized the importance of justice, good governance, and the rule of law. He argued that the ultimate source of political authority was God and that the role of the ruler was to govern according to the principles of Islamic law or Sharia. Al-Mawardi believed that the state had a duty to promote the common good and to ensure the welfare of its citizens. Al-Mawardi's political thought was shaped by the social and political conditions of his time. He lived during a period of political instability and sectarian conflict, and his work reflects a deep concern for the need to establish a just and stable political order. Al-Mawardi believed that the ideal state was one in which the ruler was just and virtuous, and in which the or rule of law was upheld. One of the Al-Mawardi's most significant contributions to political thought was his theory of the Khilafat. He argued that the Caliphate was the ideal form of the government for Muslims and that the Caliph was the rightful leader of the Islamic community. Al-Mawardi believed that the Caliphate was a divine institution and that the Caliph had a duty to govern justly and to promote the welfare of the Ummah or the Muslim community. Al-Mawardi's ideas on the Caliphate and Islamic governance have had a profound impact on Muslim political thought. His work remains an important source of ideas and inspiration for Muslims around the world, and it continues to be studied and debated by scholars of Islamic political theory and governance. Third one is Al-Ghazali. Abu Hamid Al-Ghazali, 1058 to Tetrawan, was a prominent Muslim philosopher, theologian, and mystic who lived in the Islamic Golden Age. His work had a profound impact on Islamic thought, and he is considered one of the most influential Muslim scholars in history. Al Ghazali's political thought was closely in, uh, intertwined with his religious and philosophical views. He believed that the ultimate source of political authority was God, Allah. Uh, Sovereignty belongs to Allah, and that the role of the ruler was to govern according to the principles of Islamic law or Sharia. Al Ghazali emphasized the importance of justice, good governance, and the rule of law, and he argued that the state had a duty to promote the common good and to ensure the welfare of its citizens. One of the Al Ghazali's most important contributions to political thought was his theory of the two types of government, the just government and the tyrannical government. He argued that the just government was one in which the ruler governed according to the principles of Islamic law and promoted the welfare of the people, while the tyrannical government was one in which the ruler acted in his own self-interest and oppressed the people. In later you can understand the current situation of Islamic world. Al-Ghazali also emphasized the importance of morality and virtue in politics. He believed that the ruler had a duty to cultivate his own character and to promote the virtues of justice, wisdom, and compassion. Al-Ghazali argued that a well-governed state was one in which the ruler and the people were virtuous and just. Al-Ghazali's ideas on politics and governance have had a lasting impact on Muslim political thought. His work continues to be studied and debated by scholars of Islamic philosophy and theology, and his ideas on the importance of justice, good governance, and the rule of law remain relevant to the political discourse in the Muslim world today. Fourth philosopher is Tusi. Nasiruddin Tusi, 1201 to 1274, 13th century, was a Muslim philosopher, scholar, scientist, and philosopher who lived in Persia during the Ilkhanate period. He is known for his contributions to a wide range of fields, including astronomy, mathematics, physics, philosophy, and theology. In his political thought, Tosi emphasized the importance of the rule of law and the need for a just and stable political order. He believed that the ultimate source of political authority was God and that the rule of the ruler was to govern according to the principles of Islamic law or Sharia. Tusi was a strong advocate for the separation of powers and the importance of checks and balances in the government. It means devolution of power, decentralization. He believed that the ruler should be subject to the law and accountable to the people, and that the power of the ruler should be limited by the power of the other institutions such as the judiciary and the legislature. One of Tusi's most important contributions to political thought was his work of the circle of the theory of the circle of power. He argued that the ideal state was one in which power was distributed in a circular fashion, with the ruler at the center, surrounded by a circle of advisors and then a circle of the people. Tusi believed that this circular distribution of power would help to prevent the abuse of power and ensure that the interests of all members of society were taken into account. Tusi's ideas on political governance and the separation of powers have had a lasting impact on Muslim political thought. His work continues to be studied and debated by scholars of Islamic philosophy and political theory, and his ideas on the importance of justice, good governance, and the rule of law remain relevant to the political discourse in Muslim world today. Next is Ibn Khaldun. Ibn Khaldun 1332 to 1406 was a Muslim historian, philosopher and social scientist who lived in the North Africa during the time of the Marinid dynasty. He is widely regarded as one of the most important figures in the development of Muslim political thought and social theory. Ibn Khaldun's political thought was heavily influenced by his view of history as cyclical process, with the rise and fall of empires and the inevitable decay of political institutions. He believed that the ultimate source of political authority was the people, and that the role of the ruler was to govern according to the principles of justice and good governance. One of Ibn Khaldun's most important contributions to political thought was his concept of asabia, or social cohesion. He argued that the success of any society depended on the strength of its social cohesion, and that this cohesion was the strongest in the early stages of the society's development. As a society grew and became more complex, however, its social cohesion weakened, leading to political instability and decline. Ibn Khaldun also emphasized the importance of the separation of powers and the need for checks and balances in the government. It means accountability. He believed that the power of the ruler should be limited by the power of other institutions, judiciary especially, such as the judiciary and the legislature, and that these institutions should be independent of the ruler and accountable to the people. Ibn Khaldun's ideas on social cohesion and the cyclical nature of the history have had a lasting impact on Muslim political thought and social theory. His work continues to be studied and debated by the scholars of Islamic philosophy, sociology, and political theory, and his ideas on the importance of justice, good governance, and the rule of law remain relevant to political discourse in the Muslim world today. Next is Allama Muhammad Iqbal. Iqbal, born in 1877 and died on 1938, was a Muslim poet, philosopher, and political activist who lived in British India. He is considered one of the most important figures in the development of Muslim political thought and played a key role in the Pakistan movement, which led to the creation of Pakistan in 1947. Iqbal's political thought was heavily influenced by his belief in the importance of Islamic values and principles in shaping the political and social order. He emphasized the need for Muslim unity and the importance of Islamic identity in the face of colonialism and Western imperialism. Iqbal also believed in the importance of democracy and the rule of law, and he had advocated for the establishment of a democratic system in which the people would have a voice in government, a say in the government. He believed that the ultimate goal of politics should be the welfare of the people, and that the role of the government should be to serve the interests of the people, citizens. In addition to his political thought, Iqbal was also known for poetry, often addressed themes which often addressed themes of spirituality, social justice, and the struggle for Muslim identity and independence. His poetry and political writings continue to be influential in Pakistan and the Muslim world. His vision of a democratic Islamic society remains an important part of Muslim political discourse. Thank you. ये आज हमने मुस्लिम पॉलिटिकल थॉट्स भी कंप्लीट कर लिया है। अब नेक्स्ट जो है हम पॉलिटिकल साइंस पेपर 1 का पार्ट बी डिस्कस करेंगे। मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट वीडियो में। अल्लाह हाफिज़।